Okie dokie.
I do this shit for the love of the game.
It's not safe. Give me your gun.
I say you've lost a finger. That won't do at all.
Rule number 1, read the manual.
As a person simply trying to de-escalate a conflict, then I'll have to assume of the two of you, you are likely the primary aggressor. In which case, I think everyone in this town would agree the force is justified.
Well, now that is a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drugs.
You heard it down below. That's right, down in the deepest vault, because we don't want to go up top. We don't want to head into the wasteland when we're talking Fallout, the Amazon series here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Radioactive Colin.
This is Mike McLean.
And this is Jacob, the Lone Wanderer.
Wow. Well, welcome back, everybody. You know, this is reporting directly from Vault 292, where it's our job to dive into the niche and normie every week. And this week we're talking Fallout, so the TV show, amongst maybe some other things a little bit.
Why 292?
That's the 292nd episode of Normies Like Us.
Hey.
So there you go.
What do you know? What do you know?
And I don't know about you guys. I was thinking about this. We got Oppenheimer, 2 Godzilla movies, and now Fallout. I'm beginning to think the future of mankind is intrinsically linked to the proliferation of nuclear arms.
I hope
call
not.
it a
Possible.
hunch. But yeah.
No, I think it's okay.
At least we have a primer for the future to get prepared for in this show, you know.
Yeah.
California wasteland. So
That's right. Everything that happens in this show is going to happen in the future.
well,
But yeah, we're talking Fallout on Amazon Prime.
yeah, exclusively on Prime Video.
Thank you, Jeff Bezos.
We've done a Bethesda episode in the past where we kind of talked broadly, but we haven't done necessarily a
Yes.
Fallout focused episode. So maybe we could bring people up to speed on our histories with the game that this is that this is based on.
So weird. Maybe one of our earliest, maybe like the first Jacob guest on, like back before you
That
were
was-
co-host of this podcast.
Yeah, that was definitely one that I would begged you guys to do, and then you're like, okay, I guess we can
Yeah.
do that one and have
Do
you
it.
on.
Actually,
And
we
let,
did
let
do
you
a
rant about
Fallout
Bethesda.
Oh, did we really?
93rd
Only
episode.
many years ago. Yeah.
Almost 100 episodes exactly, and it came out April 14th. So pretty close to the time
Wow,
of this.
weird.
So not bad. Okay.
Excited to repeat all my Fallout stories, except now with TV knowledge.
We did it, and then 200 years later, we're doing it again. Yeah.
Oh no.
That's right. I hope you were frozen in your pod. Yeah, we're talking Fallout, and I'm probably the biggest Fallout fan here, if I can say that up top, in terms of fan of the games and the franchise. I've played I've played most Fallout games. I own 1 and 2. I've never really dabbled with them too much, but I do want to at some point. And then I've played 3, New Vegas, 4, 76, everything. Fallout Shelter.
Really? Shelter.
We know how we do.
We're not out here. We're deep underground.
That's right.
We're under there.
So yeah, I enjoy the franchise, and I'm happy to say that I think this show was a success. And I'm going to say right up top, this show is the best video game adaptation of all time.
Wow.
And I'll explain
That's
why within
wild.
this episode.
Yeah,
So
no,
stay
that's
I'm
tuned.
excited to hear that.
How were you
Yeah.
feeling with the lead up? Did you think it had potential when you were seeing the publicity and stuff as a fan? Were you excited?
I didn't really know. I didn't really know what to expect, but I mean, I was optimistic because I knew it was Jonathan Nolan, the makers of Westworld, even though I didn't love that show really, so I don't know why that would make me think that this was good. But the first season, right, of Westworld, and then it kind of
maybe
fell
first
off.
2 even, but yeah. Anything
Yeah.
after that is dead to me. Cool.
But so I was I was looking forward to it, and I think now I know I really feel bad for the Halo fans out there because this show really is what is to Fallout fans. I think what the Halo fans wish the Halo show was. And this is how you do it the right way. So I'll explain more this episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even compared to Last of Us, which is really strong, there is a lot more video game feel to this. And it is, Last of Us was basically a movie that you played anyway. So this is kind of interesting. But Colin, what's your history? Were you excited about this when it was announced? We did have Rings of Power, so I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm a Reacher guy, so I hang around. I dab with a little Prime.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was excited. I probably said in our past 200 years ago episode that I don't have a huge history with this franchise. I played one game. I used to work at a phone center, and this guy who also worked there was named Javier. He was a cool guy. Talking one day, talking video games. He loved the Fallout series. Hey man, you gotta try this game. I'll bring it for you tomorrow. Brought me Fallout New Vegas. This was back in like 2012 or 2013, where my roommate at the time was dating a girl. He was not around. I was hanging out. Jacob, Mike, you guys were maybe out here, but maybe we weren't hanging out or whatever too much. So I would play like, it was like back in the sit down, play 10 hours of a video game days. So I did like a full weekend, dumped like 20 hours into the bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Monday morning, handed it right back to him, and he said, "No, are you like seriously done with this thing?" And I was like, "No, I'm not done, but like I think I got it." So it just kind of like never stuck. Like that's
Wow.
kind of like my
New
sort
Vegas?
of exposure to it. It was New Vegas, and I wonder, I can't remember why I ditched it, but Mike shared a little info in our chat about his
my
experience playing that game,
gonna-
where he revealed that. I'll drop this right now, that you can't run in that video game. And I have to wonder
Well,
if maybe I was like, this game is too slow, Jacob.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose my mind. First of all,
Yeah.
you can run, you can't sprint.
Okay.
So the default speed is like a jog, basically. So you can jog around everywhere, but you can't go faster than like a little jog. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about it. I'm excited to get Mike's take.
Yeah.
And,
Hi zombies. Hi
fashion
wasteland
for it,
people.
but-
Just kind of jogging by you. How are
No,
you?
yeah.
I remember trying to play New Vegas a couple years before. I had this core memory unlocked that I had buried away, where I was doing that same mission where you follow the lady to kill the geckos, and it took so long to walk over there that when that was done, I'm like, this isn't for me, and it happened again. But I'm happy to report. Okay, I tried Fallout 4, and I'm wearing my jumpsuit because we're jumpsuit boys now. I played for 15 hours straight.
Wow.
Sunday.
Wow.
I am hooked, and I like Fallout now, and I thought it was going to be a rocky start with going back to New Vegas, but you know what? I think they've done it. I think I'm in. So
Well,
That's really cool.
first of all,
you can still
New
bash
Vegas.
me for my New Vegas takes.
Yeah.
New Vegas is better than 4. I like 4. I played 4. Like I said, I've played all of them. I mean, I like 4. But New Vegas is not only the best Fallout game, it's one of my favorite games of all time. And if we were drafting favorite games, it might be in my starting 5. Okay.
Wow.
You got to get past the slow movement speed. Okay. First of all, there's mods. Okay. You can get mods. Now, of course, the game crashes a lot. It's got a lot of technical difficulties.
The number one game I'm drafting, you have to mod a bunch. You can't. It's not just the game. Okay.
Well,
what an interesting.
you can play
sell
without.
you're
So
doing.
actually,
yeah.
because of the show, I've also jumped back into Fallout because I'm like, damn, I want to hit the Mojave Wasteland again. Remember those old times back in the day? So I booted up. First of all, I had a playthrough on Steam, eventually, which was a heavily modded playthrough. Eventually, that just stopped working to where I could. Every time I tried to play, it would crash. So I was like, damn, I guess I can't play this game anymore. And that's the number one problem with New Vegas is that it was made in 18 months, and it has a lot of technical issues because of that were never fixed. And it's a product of its time. It came out in 2010, so it's like almost a 15-year-old game at this point. So, you gotta give it some, leeway there. But I jumped back in because I also have it on Epic Game Store because it wasn't working on Steam. So I'm like, okay, I got it for free on Epic Game Store because it was like the free game of the month. I'm like, let me start up a vanilla playthrough of New Vegas, jump back in, and I played that game all day yesterday, Sunday, and I loved it. I don't care about the movement speed. I was, jogging through the Mojave Wasteland.
Just
I
taking
had
my
NBA
time.
playoffs on the second
with
screen.
a bunch of Vault Boys
I was just
here.
vibing.
Fallout lovers. Wow.
I was in hog heaven. It was great. I loved
Hey
it.
man, I'm not gonna yuck your I maybe will go back to it with mods that include running. I am a speed runner, maybe I was born to run, but I do think there's an issue with having to fix Bethesda games, and even though that's technically a different developer and it was 18 months, it's a known issue Starfield included. It's like
Well, no game's
Bethesda's-
perfect, you know.
No, but most games run. That's all I'm going to say. And to have running
First
in
of
them,
all,
hey.
First of all, I like Starfield. Starfield's basically just Fallout 4 in space.
Okay.
I'm probably the only person in the world that likes that game. No,
Seems like.
there's some other ones, but Fallout 4, I enjoy that game, and I could talk at length about why New Vegas is a better game, which I won't do right now. But Fallout 4 does have some good things about it: better graphics, better gameplay, better gun shooting. Not as good RPG elements, not as good writing, main storyline, that kind of thing, player choice.
I kind of asked you guys this in the chat, but it's more geared towards like you make your own vault or something, right? Is the point of
No.
Settlements.
You make
settlements.
you build
Okay.
settlements, yeah. And that's sort of I did like that, crafting and building. Love
It's
that
your
kind of thing.
number one mechanic, dog. The fact that you're like, nah, not the base building one.
I like that one game too. I put many hours into Fallout 4 back in the day. What I really want more than anything is a modern remake of New Vegas and 3. You could make them as one game, and with even better graphics and gameplay than 4, which came out a decade ago. So that's pretty old at this point. And have the base building mechanic in there because I love that, the weapon crafting mods and all that stuff. But yeah, that's what I really want. But the storyline of New Vegas, the writing, the amount of player choice you have, it's just chef's kiss. There's nothing like it,
Yeah, the dialogue options, I guess, got severely neutered in 4, but I thought it was going to bounce off the base building. But anyway.
Bethesda's just not as good at writing, and I think that was the problem with Skyrim. They're not good at main storyline quests. Because Skyrim, what I like about Skyrim is all the side stuff, not the main storyline. And I think it's the same thing with Fallout 4 and 76. Now 76, if I could talk a little bit about that.
Can't believe you played that. It's a universally disaster, right?
Well, actually, there's been a reappraisal. It's sort of had the No Man's Sky treatment where they've added so much. It had disastrous launch. Everyone stopped playing it for the most part, but they've put out like 18 updates since it came out. And it's now like almost a completely different game. So everything I heard about it is that it's actually really good now, and it's almost like a real Fallout game. So they added NPCs. Okay.
So close.
If you didn't know, there was no NPCs on launch. It was just an empty world. They've got NPCs. They've got quests. It's great.
It was just an empty world. Their online video game was just player characters, PC characters.
They're really going hard into the MMO aspect of it.
But MMOs have quests. Anyway, I'm glad it's getting fixed.
That's the point of them, Mike. That's crazy.
Right.
But Fallout 4. Look, I don't want to spend too much time. I've already probably ranted up.
No, get the games out. That's the dog one.
Because all of this is technically canon.
I need these. Totally, and I need these updates. Pretend that I am like the Normies. I don't know these games. That's the dog one, right? That's the dog.
That's the dog one.
Yeah, dog meat. Yeah. I love my dog.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a dog in it. Dog meat. Who's in this show? Yeah.
So weird.
So the show takes different references from all the games, but basically. Bethesda bought the property, made Fallout 3, transitioned it from basically 1 and 2 were like the Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 to Baldur's Gate 3. Now it's a different kind of game, top down CRPG type of thing, turn-based combat and all that. Fallout 3 they Bethesda'd it up, right? Then they gave it to Obsidian to make New Vegas. And then they made Fallout 4. So, and then they made 76.
Why did they do that? Why did they give it away for 1?
I don't know. I think they were busy. They were busy making Skyrim. I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
So they sort of
let's keep the property alive. Okay.
Yeah, but New Vegas was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, it had an 18-month development, which is very quick turnaround for a game like that. 1.5 years. So the whole game got built in 1.5 years, which is why it had so many technical issues. And then Fallout 4 came out. people are disappointed because the writing just not there. I don't like the voiced protagonist, which is a first for the series, and the dialogue options where it's like, yes, yes with sass, no, and fuck
Whatever.
you, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just not the same. But anyway, I don't want to rant too long about the.
But that to be said, New Vegas is seen by the fans to be the best one. 4 is just the most modern. Again,
A lot of people. Yeah,
but
I think that
there's a lot of Fallout 4 in this show. Again, they're referencing from all of them, but considering all of these games take place before the show, because I think we're in 77 and 76 is the last game, right?
That's the thing. Yeah. So if I can, so what I like about this show is it's a adaptation that's in the same canon universe as the games, which I don't know that's ever been done before. I can't think of any examples. Maybe you guys can, but it exists within the same canon as all the games.
Right.
And so you have something like The Last of Us. That's a direct adaptation of The Last of Us 1, the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is an original story set within the world of Fallout that connects to all the other games in interesting ways. And that's why I think it's the most successful adaptation of a video game ever. And it nails the tone so well that, I think it's the most successful ever.
That's fascinating.
I think because they keep the old canon, holy and sacred, and still kind of do their own thing while staying true to the theme. So maybe it's time we open up this vault, head out into the wasteland, and talk about this new Amazon series, potentially the greatest video game show ever made. I'm going to stand in for Fallout.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, just a couple of Fallout boys giving you the thumbs up, letting you know we are in a safe distance to keep talking Fallout, the series, the Amazon Prime series. That's what we're here to talk about today. 8 episodes, 10 episodes. What the hell was it?
8 episodes.
8.
And first of all, I don't like, and I've said this before, you guys probably agree with me, this release schedule of dropping all the episodes at one time. Now, we've talked about it many times before. I'm not a fan of this binge watch delivery method. Imagine if Shogun, if they dropped the whole season of Shogun all at once, we weren't watching week to week going like, oh man, what a crazy episode.
Mm-hmm.
People
that's
wouldn't
what I
be
love
talking about it,
TV.
Jacob. People wouldn't be talking about it. It's in particular, what you're calling out is what I want to call the Amazon Shell Game 2. The difference that they do, because obviously Netflix invented the drop it all at once, it seems like, right, in the pop culture way, where now they've leaned towards the split of the, we'll get you, and then a month later, the rest of the season, wink, wink, we dropped it all. Amazon, they do the interesting thing, Jacob. The first season is always all at once, like The Boys is, and then they go to the weekly model to fuck with you to go, you're hooked now. They did that for Reacher too. I don't know.
Interesting.
I feel like it just kills a lot of the momentum of, and I think this show has been getting a lot of buzz and people are enjoying it. And a lot of people are going to play the video games based on watching this show. But I think it would have had more sustained relevance in the pop culture sort of zeitgeist if it was like spaced out week to week, like all television has been since television was invented, basically.
I mean, that's why Lost worked, right? Water cooler show. Like, what the hell's going to happen next week? But I can see that where, like, I didn't have any expectation for the show because I was like, I never played a Fallout. I like New Vegas for like 30 minutes, and I was like, not for me, dog. And then I heard that 76 was doing bad, and I apologize, but I'm speaking my truth. So then when this came out and it was so good, like I did binge through it, but I would have been here week to week. And it would have been cool to start Fallout 4, and then every week I see stuff that I recognize as I'm playing the game more and becoming more of a fan of the series. That would have been cool because I see so much in retrospect that I recognize from the show, and I wish I would have had more experience.
It just fosters conversation in a better way. Like the fact that you, like we just said with Shogun, like week to week we text each other, what happened in Shogun? Or you go online and you read these articles on these aggregate sites that are like, let's tell you what happened in Shogun. When Fallout drops on one day, I go to YouTube that day and somebody just goes, here was every Easter egg in the show. I'm going to talk about the finale. Here's what I want next season. You're like, oh, it's done then. Like that's the whole, like that's the end chapter for discussion.
I mean, we're talking about the whole series and it just dropped like a week and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
And I guess
I've already
people want
forgotten
to
it.
binge it, but like I didn't binge the show. You know, I would watch like an episode a night for the past week because I was like, I didn't have really the time to binge it. And I wanted to take it all in before this episode, obviously, but I was really struggling to watch the entire season before we talked about this, just due to
Dang,
lack
okay.
of time, you know?
Yeah. I think I did like 3 a day or, something like that. We eventually got through it, but I agree. Weekly should be a thing. We've talked about this before. Like, it does just kill the social media momentum for this stuff when it's just one and done.
Yeah.
Algorithms like repeat customers, and you don't have any when you drop it once a week.
No.
But I do think this show was successful in adapting Fallout, like I said, and I think it works both for the hardcore fans like me, and I'm not the hardest of corest of fans, but I know a little about the lore, and I see all the references, and I'm like, okay, Brotherhood of Steel, NCR, okay, I see what we're doing. And it works on that level, and it also works on the level of if you've never heard of Fallout, never played a Fallout game or anything, you can still go into the series and enjoy it for what it is and still have a good time. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I'm going to also say spoilers for the show, and I think the way it does that is having 3 different and pretty much equally interesting protagonists. Maybe one of them slightly less, but you have 3 different point of view characters that are showing very different parts of the wasteland and the way you interact with it, with the ghoul, Maximus, and Lucy. Like, she's naive, he kind of is this Brotherhood of Steel thing, the ghoul like has mastered it. So you get everybody's perspective, and it helps introduce the audience to all the aspects, and I think that was really smart.
True. And they do tell an original story. It borrows certain plot elements from the different games, like I said, sort of in an interesting way where it's like, oh, she has to go, you know, you start in the vault. It's funny because it starts a lot like a Fallout game would start, where you're growing up in the vault. It's very similar to Fallout 3. You basically Fallout 3, you start in the vault, you grow up, you build your character and everything, and then when you turn 18, your dad goes missing in the wasteland, and you have to go find your dad, the overseer.
Oh, it's exactly like it. Are you fucking kidding me? That's crazy.
Yeah, but it differs from there. But it takes that element from Fallout 3. Your dad, voiced by Liam Neeson.
Oh wow, he gets taken
in Fallout 3. Yeah,
true?
he gets taken.
He gets taken.
Yeah.
Jacob, can I just say too, in the opening scene for her, she's listing, and I noticed this when I started before, it's like the stats. She's like, my science skills, I have repair skills, I've taken riflery, like these are my perks and skill sets that I've spec'd into.
This is what I mean. There's so many references, not just like visual references to the games, but like the act of playing the game feels like it's referenced so much. Like when the ghoul says, at a certain point, you know, up here in the wasteland, we have our own golden rule. You always get sidetracked by a bunch of bullshit. That feels like a direct reference to the games where you always get sidetracked by a bunch of side content and you don't stick to the main story mission, which is what I do in every Bethesda game.
Same. I was struggling. The way they represented gameplay elements, like even VATS, like they just subtly do like a slow-mo shot and somebody like in some of these action scenes in the VATS combat system. It's like they're really doing a good job of integrating the gameplay elements into the story in like a pretty streamlined way.
And in VATS, if you don't know what that is, Normies, it's interesting because from Fallout 3 to, through 76, it basically started as an RPG with some shooting elements and transitioned to a shooting game with some RPG elements over time as they sort of normified it. And that's kind of, as much as I like Fallout 4, I think it's a fine game. It really took away a lot of the RPG elements, made it more of a shooter, had the best shooting of the series, in my opinion. But they streamlined how you make your character and the perks and skill tree and everything. So it's interesting, but that's a whole debate about games.
But you do see people in the show trying to make, let's say, a persuasion or a speech check, like say to get a discount on that part. Maximus is like, hey, can you do 4 caps? And he fails, and then he has to go get more money. Like, that's so subtle and so smart.
And the VATS is obviously, truly, it is a slow motion shootout when they go up against the cannibals. You are fucking opening my eyes on these RPG elements they're including. That's very cool.
I wasn't aware until I played it, though, and then it all hit me like, wow, this is super strong. Yeah.
That's true. In VATS, as I was saying, basically VATS is where you can, as an element of the earlier RPG games, they didn't have great FPS shooting mechanics yet, which is the big problem with Fallout 3 specifically. Like, it gets a little better in New Vegas, but to counteract that, they have this thing called VATS, where you can basically slow down time and target certain parts of the body where you have a certain percentage to hit them. And that became like a style of play. If you didn't want to always just do real time shooting, you could go into VATS and, you know, kill people that way.
And did that influence like the Red Dead, Dead Aim, kind of like that slow-mo stuff? It feels very
Sure.
similar vibes,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think games have been trying a long time to sort of make a realistic way that you can slow down time to make it, you know, easier for a video game so you can target,
Yeah.
you know, people, but still have it be realistic, I guess.
Well, you just think about how awkward it's always been in like Dungeons and Dragons to like shoot arrows, or you know, there's not like really
Yeah.
like a shooting machine gun RPG game. Like, it is hard to like, now stop, roll. What do you target? Like, what do you? It's like, it's so
Yeah.
awkward. Yeah.
And that's where those RPG elements come in, where it's like, okay, you have a 60% chance to hit the body, but only a 30% chance to hit the head. So you can try to hit the head for more damage, or you can hit the body for a safer shot but less damage.
Right,
kind of
right.
thing. But
So they
Fallout
did a
4
great-
changed that all by adding the best shooting so far in the franchise. You can still use VATS, but it becomes less and less important over time.
And you have less creative way, like it's harder to talk your way out of situations, I guess, in 4. But you know, that's for neither here nor there. But capturing the elements as well as they did is what's praised. And I think maybe we could talk about our 3 characters and kind of what they're all about, starting with Lucy.
Absolutely.
If that's okie dokie with you guys.
That's okie dokie with me.
Okay.
So the vaults, I should say up top, the vaults in the game, it's interesting because they kind of go that into this in the show by the end of it, where you revealed of like what's really going on with Vault-Tec and everything. But essentially how the vaults are portrayed in the games is like every vault has their own social experiment going on, like their own weird thing about it. And you see that at the end of the show where they're in that board meeting talking about it. So every vault in the game has like its own lore, its own weird way of like making a civilization and something weird about it.
And some of them are really sinister and fucked up too. Like Lucy is lucky to be in this naive one. Like that's her experiment.
She's in a pretty good vault.
And it's the experiment, and again, spoilers for the whole series, is that it's just shared breeding between another vault. Is that what's going on for them? Or
I feel like this vault plotline in the show was like the most confusing maybe to most people, but basically, well, obviously spoilers, but this other vault 31 was like all these people from the before times were frozen in these pods and were woken up at different intervals to become overseers of this other vault because their management and they all worked for Vault-Tec before the bombs
for
dropped.
years, took 50, hundreds, you know, just years, you would imagine, right?
Like 200 years they've been doing this with different leadership, I guess, rotating in and out.
So it's kind of interesting to see how Lucy and the Ghoul all kind of tie into what was going on before the war, right?
Which again is pretty brilliant. But with Lucy's thing, they're pretty much just, we're maintaining civilization. That's the lie they've been told. Like, we're going to be super civil, super nice. We're going to be like the best people, which is a great point of view for Lucy when she goes to the wasteland. Because by the end of the show, it's like a person playing the game for the first time where like she's all happy-go-lucky and then she gets beaten down and kind of reality hits her in the face and you become a hardened warrior by the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Flat Earth, round Earth. Where do we land on up here?
Yeah.
She grew up in this closed-off society underground without knowing what's on the surface, then goes up to the surface for the first time. And this is just like the beginning of Fallout 3. You go out to the wasteland for the first time and you see the whole open world in front of you. And you're like, oh, you can go in any direction. Shot. Yeah.
Skyrim does it, all the Elder Scrolls. Yep. Classic.
Yeah.
So this is Lucy, our protagonist. This is Ella Purnell, a British actress who I watched an interview, straight up a Cockney voice. Like the fact that she's doing this like Okie Dokie, very like, middle American and saying things like, we have to rebuild the Americas. We got to do it for America. I mean, it's very convincing.
Yeah, all these damn Brits coming over here taking our American acting jobs.
Spider-Man's American, damn it.
Andrew Garfield, go back to your island.
He is from that. I sent you guys a picture earlier. It's funny that you said that thing about how bad Halo is, Jacob, but of all the perfect video game adaptations, and then Halo being like the bad one in there.
Yeah.
Ella Purnell also part of that League of Legends one, whatever that one's called. I've never seen that
Arcane.
one before.
No.
Arcane.
People like it, but I've
that.
never played nor seen.
The problem with Halo, to compare Halo show to this show could have done what Halo did, where it's like this weird alternate universe where some characters exist, but they die at different times than they did in the Halo lore, and like it's just, you know, it's Halo in name only, but it has the Master Chief, but it's like different events happen in different, you know, ways. This show is like, no, we're gonna be set in the Fallout world. We're just going to tell our own story, and we're going to borrow some things from the games, and it's going to overlap at some points with the games, but it's not going to affect the lore of the games or change it. It's going to do its own thing. It's going to be faithful to the adaptation while making an original story, and that's why I like it so much.
And who knows, maybe the next Fallout game it'll be set after this. We might get some of these characters or events being referenced in that game, which would be kind of interesting.
Well,
like I said, never been done before.
Yeah.
I saw a pretty cool criticism of this series, Mike, where people said, well, this is the next Fallout game. This is Fallout 5. Now they need to start working on Fallout 6. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that.
Well, it's interesting because I would also say this has better writing than like pretty much any of the Fallout games, which is like TV writers versus game writers, different development cycles, that kind of thing. But like if this plot was the plot of a Fallout game, it would probably be the best Fallout game because the writing is so good, in my opinion, in this series, and it improves on some of the games.
Yeah, I was extremely impressed. I also want to shout out, I thought when she left the vault that was the last we were going to see of it, but we do get to see this mystery intrigue stuff with people are calling Norm stealth build McLean. Lisan Al-Gaib, you know, he's our little guy.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I didn't expect it, Mike. I'm kind of with Jacob in that I kind of thought that was the weakest element. It doesn't serve any narrative purpose. It's not like the information that's obtained by Norm at the end is in any way transferred to Lucy at the end.
Yeah.
She comes to literally all the same conclusions by hearing it from the horse's mouth in literally the last scene.
Yeah.
They learn it at the same time, but it doesn't affect each other's thing. Yeah.
This was my biggest critique.
Cost saving, you know, it's cheap to shoot down in the vault, you would have to imagine, right?
Maybe, yeah. My biggest critique of the show was the vault stuff, because I felt like the mystery was kind of drawn out, and they felt like they had to keep cutting back to what was going on in the vault, when I was like, what's happening on the surface with Lucy and Maximus is much more interesting, and every time they cut back to the vault, I was like,
do not leave the ghoul.
No, give me Norm.
But I understand they had to keep coming back to establish these various vault characters. And I also think that the vault mystery is less mysterious if you already know about the vaults in the game. So like if you're a fan of the games, it's less interesting maybe, but to a normie that's like, you don't really know what's going on. Like I already knew kind of what the reveal was going to be from playing the game. So I'm like, you know, it's less interesting.
Well, you can at least assume it's sinister, because you know that it would have to be, because if you're in a vault, it's sinister. Yeah.
And they spell it out pretty well that these games have pretty much always been about how capitalism caused the end of the world, and which is funny that this hasn't been getting any go woke, go broke kind of backlash, because it very much spells it out, like in those flashback scenes, right? What Vault-Tec and all these other companies were doing. Basically caused the nuclear war that caused the end of the world, and Vault-Tec was behind it the whole time. They had that whole plan.
Yeah.
So.
It stars a woman, it stars a black guy, and it stars a guy who gets called a communist pinko, and I have not heard any complaints about this series, Jacob. That is kind of magical.
It has a big plot line about communism in the 50s, and with the Cooper Howard character being an actor, and of course HUAC going on at the time, all these actors getting caught up, you know, going to communist meetings and stuff like that, and he gets convinced to kind of go to one of these meetings, but we learn out this woman is maybe part of the NCR, the New California Republic, is the big reveal, which if you play New Vegas, that's pretty interesting reveal.
Completely insane. Let's shout out that Cooper character is, spoiler, the ghoul, but is Walton Goggins, the actor in this, who I try to watch anything with Walton Goggins in it. That's how I knew I would like this show.
Walton Goggins is great in everything. his first breakout role was in The Shield.
Oh, that's right. You love The Shield, so of course you love
I love
Walton
The Shield,
Goggins. I
yeah.
always forget you love The Shield.
The Shield is a great show. It was from the era of like The Wire and The Sopranos, those
Yeah.
2000s shows, but it was a little bit underlooked compared to those other ones.
He's
but
like Michael Chiklis's best friend. He's like the
yeah,
co-lead guy, right? That's so
yeah,
funny.
and it was his big breakout. Then he had what was that? He was like in a cowboy show with like Timothy
Justified. I
Oliphant.
watch him in that stuff. Yeah, that's how I know him.
I saw
Yeah.
him in Sons of Anarchy.
Sure.
Sons of
Sure. Just a
Anarchy.
veteran TV guy. I mean,
Yep,
he deserves
Well,
the
fun fact
success.
with Sons of Anarchy, that was created by a guy who wrote for The Shield. So it has a lot of the same actors that come back from The Shield in Sons of Anarchy. So there you go.
Interesting. Yeah, shout out Walton Goggins. I think he's crushing this role. The people are thirsting all over the Ghoul. I don't know if I'm one of them in that camp, but I think his performance is great, and I like his character arc of being a cowboy movie actor who ends up being the spokesperson for Vault-Tec, who then ends up like paying the ultimate price and living the shittiest wasteland life ever.
Yeah.
The fact that he was so tied into the origin of like this whole universe was like really well done reveal, I think, in the show. Where I'm like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think the plot of this series is better than any of the games potentially.
Yeah. That's cool.
But also,
I rewatched-
shout out. Oh, sorry. The Righteous Gemstones. I want to shout out Walton Goggins' role in that as well. If you haven't seen that.
Uncle Baby Billy, the greatest character of all time.
Yes.
This is maybe leads into a bigger discussion about practical effects on this show.
Mm.
But how about the makeup work? I mean, the fact that they really do try to make the aesthetic of the Ghoul translate to television well, dude.
What are you looking at, Smooth Skin?
Mm-hmm. No, I think he looks
They
great.
call him
Weird.
Smooth Skins.
Weird. I like it.
The Ferengis called us pink skins. I think I prefer smooth, but you know.
The way they portray ghouls and ghouls versus feral ghouls in the transition to becoming a feral ghoul is also really well done, and that's a big part of the game. Where basically, if you don't get your anti-radiation medicine regularly, you turn into a feral ghoul, which is basically a zombie.
You
Yeah.
can play as a feral ghoul.
No, you can in the games, but you meet a lot of ghoul characters. Like ghouls are just like normal people; they just look like that, right? But they
They just gotta
talk
get
and
their shots.
yeah. But if you become feral, that's when you basically lose your mind.
Is it
and
like
become a mindless
because
zombie.
that opening sequence is so incredible, the bombs dropping, him watching, running away on the horse. But is it that like, well, I guess we see later that the doctor, I was just like, it's not that you're just so exposed to the bomb. Is that what makes you a ghoul, I guess?
I think you become so irradiated that you just turn into a ghoul. And I'm not a lore expert, but I guess apparently according to the show, you can get turned like the
You can be
Johnny Pemberton
drugged.
character gets
Yeah.
turned into a ghoul where he can heal any injury, which I'm not super familiar with. That's how ghouls work, but apparently maybe that's how it is. So
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
But they did do a good job of establishing like what Radaway is and does, because I didn't play the game, and then when I got to the game, I'm like, oh, that's the thing. Okay.
Yeah. Again, the references, the visual references are off the chart. Like everything in this series, it looks faithful to what it looks like in the games. And like just random name drops of like Blamco mac and cheese is like a food item that you can get in the game. Like all these, when he gets that gift basket in the vault and all you see all those things, like those are all things from the game. And like stim packs, Radaway, like it all looks like it looks like in the game. It's insane.
Well, how about the big one, the Pip-Boy? I mean, it just looked incredible. The actual aesthetics and 50s
the sound effects,
sci-fi,
the UI, like it's all faithful. The UI of computer screens, the music drops, like all the needle drops and stuff. The famous 10mm pistol that she gains at some point is like that's the pistol that you can get in the game. Like it's insane. I'm telling you, it's insane.
Yeah, and the music was lost on me. Like I liked all the neat, I knew it had that kind of older music, but playing Fallout 4, listening to the radio, I'm like, holy shit, it is just that. It is crazy.
You can literally get radio stations on your Pip-Boy that you can turn on while you're walking around the wasteland and just listen to some.
Fred Armisen is the DJ. What a nice little surprise.
Yeah.
There.
I got spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle. I listen to that all the time, walking the wasteland. Or
that's wild. Though.
I don't want to set the world on fire. That's straight out of the game. So they nailed it with the music too. Man, What a
Yeah, and
show! What
so
a show!
yeah, the ghoul's representing the person who's been in the shit forever, and he kind of knows his way around, and that it's a cutthroat world, right? And then who's the number 3, Maximus? We have Brotherhood of Steel, who's kind of if Lucy's um like kind of gung ho, he's gung no.
Yeah,
You know, he's very timid,
he's
but he's in the Brotherhood of
Yeah.
Steel, which is the irony. He is not steel. He is not forged. So
he's
it's a
sort of
different
an
environment for
interesting
him.
character because he's kind of like not that smart. Like he just keeps doing dumb things,
Mhm.
but he's very pessimistic. And he grew up in the wasteland, so he's very cautious, as anyone
Raised in
would
a
be.
cult, though, maybe not bred to
Yeah,
be smart, you could say,
the
right?
Brotherhood
Like
of
the
Steel.
Mandalorian, he was saved by the
Yeah,
Brotherhood of Steel and was taken in by
Yes,
them.
very much
which
so.
the Brotherhood of Steel is a big faction in the games, and they're sort of portrayed differently for each game. But basically, they are a cult that's obsessed with pre-war technology. So they're hoarding all this pre-war technology, and they can be either seen as sort of heroes or kind of assholes that just kind of are like isolationist. But they have the power armor and stuff, and that's probably the most aesthetically iconic thing about them.
How do you guys think the power armor looked in this? I mean,
It looked good. I've never, as a Fallout player, I've never leaned into the power armor kind of build. Like, I'm more of a, the High Plains drifter with my 6-shooter and my cowboy hat, going around blasting people. So I stay away from the Brotherhood of Steel.
You're
Cool.
a fucking
Are you a
ghoul.
little
I'm a ghoul, yeah.
You're a little
That's
ghoul.
why I love the Walton Goggins character. I'm like, that's how I play Fallout,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
I watched the video, Mike. It's a huge puppet. I mean, it is like a
Mm-hmm.
huge, mascot puppet outfit, basically. And they built, like 10, 20 of them for those scenes where all the brothers are together at the end. I thought they looked fucking amazing.
Like, thanks for the
Yeah.
practical effects, guys. Like you were leading to earlier, like the sets that they built, and again, the attention to detail Jacob's throwing out there. I just got to Diamond City, and that little town they're in Fallout 4. I'm like, this looks like aesthetically, it's not the same town, but it's like this
Yeah.
is the vibe. Like they captured
Philly.
it perfectly.
That's cool.
I was wondering what that's supposed to be because it's not like Philadelphia because they're in California in the
Right.
show.
Oh,
It's
the
called
town
Philly.
was called Philly. I didn't.
But it's like
remember.
Filly in the show. So I don't know what that's supposed
If
to
anybody knows
represent.
what that is in California, yeah, huh?
Obviously, at the
Is
end,
it-
they're at the Griffith Observatory, which is the
Oh,
NCR
sure.
headquarters.
Classic,
When you
Yeah.
see the map in the big twist reveal of the boardroom of where all the vaults are, California had a ton. We might have been okay, guys.
Yeah,
we
true.
could have gotten into one of those vaults. I don't know.
Well, again, this is where it sort of leans into the New Vegas stuff because New Vegas, Nevada, obviously is close to California, and there's a lot of NCR lore and stuff explained in New Vegas. So, the New California Republic, the other big faction in the show, or one of the other ones, is sort of a government that's come along, and they're portrayed in New Vegas. They're like a very bureaucratic government that just wants to take everything over and like make things how they were before the war, basically trying to bring America back. But they're at war with various factions like the Brotherhood of Steel. They don't really get along with them too well. And Caesar's Legion, which we haven't seen in the show yet.
That sounds
Legion, I
cool.
love
That'll be
that.
interesting.
Okay.
But the NCR, I was blown away when they introduced them. And like, so when they go down in that vault, the second vault that we see, and she goes in the classroom and she's like learning about like Shady Sands and all that stuff. And she looks at the NCR flag, which is the California flag with the bear with 2 heads on it.
Right.
Another
Classic, I love
iconic
that.
thing from Fallout.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And when she looks at that flag, the theme from Fallout 4 plays. That's the song that's playing over that
That's
scene.
wild.
And I was losing my mind. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
There's a
So,
lot of good Easter eggs in this show that I'm
Uh-huh.
just not privy
a
to.
ton. If you're a hardcore fan, like you're gonna notice stuff in like every shot of like, that's from the game. That's from the game.
Leonardo meme right now, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, with my Nuka-Cola, you know.
Nuka-Cola, Sunset
Get some bottle
Sarsaparilla.
Nice.
Man.
Yep.
They go to the gas station from
Yeah,
Fallout
Red
4.
Rocket.
It's fucking insane. Yeah. So
And that's where you
man.
meet the dog in the game, and that's where they meet the dog
Yeah.
in the show.
dog
Yeah,
meat,
don't-
which they call
don't
him
lock
dog
that
meat
dog up.
in the show. So I guess it's the same dog.
He goes on to be the dog. Okay, that's
Well, this show
interesting.
takes place after all of the games in the timeline, which is kind of
Oh, okay.
confusing because fans were like, does this like break the canon of New Vegas because of, so basically Shady Sands, which is that city in the show that they're talking about, which was New California Republic, established this capital city of Shady Sands.
Mhm.
In the games, in the show, we see that it's been destroyed.
Mhm.
That was not canon, and that was not known in the games until this show. So it's
Oh,
adding
because-
to the lore of the
okay.
show. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I
huh.
think it's implied that's where Maximus is from. He was a kid when that happened.
Right.
That's why he was like,
Yeah.
"What? The bombs were only like 15 years ago, not 200." It's like, whoa, there's
Yeah.
been 2.
So we know basically after the end of New Vegas, the NCR kind of gets dooskied from Shady Sands. They get blown up, which is interesting because obviously you can end, there's a lot of different endings based on the choices you make in the game. So what is really the
so they
canon
are
ending?
committing to
yeah.
one. Huh.
Like you can side with the NCR, you can side with Caesar's Legion, you can do the independent route, or you can side with Mr. House. So basically, you're fighting over control of the Hoover Dam in New Vegas because whoever has the Hoover
Nice.
Dam has the ability to control energy,
Helm's Deep.
right?
Of course.
Yeah. So
in
you
the
can side
same
with-
way that this show is about energy control.
Yeah.
So they really are sort of picking, and that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's full of reference even to like Fallout 1. The main plot in Fallout 1 is you have to get a new water chip for your vault. And they mention there's that scene where they're talking about the water chip in the vault has been destroyed. That's like a direct
yes,
reference to
that's-
Fallout 1.
And
So
it looks like the one from the game. The prop they made
Yeah.
is like a 1-to-1 of
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
so there's
which is
just so
very
many
good.
little details like that. Like I could go on for
I saw
hours.
here's what I saw again. A very positive criticism was this is someone didn't want to adapt their story inside the show they're adapting, like The Witcher, you might say.
Yes,
It is
The
literally
Witcher,
somebody wanted to
Halo.
make a Fallout story in Fallout. So that's it. It sounds in line to how you're just enjoying it so much, Jacob.
This is literally what the fans want. And it's like I don't know
Yeah.
how they keep messing it up, like with The Witcher, Halo, these shows where they're like, we're gonna take the aesthetics and certain names of things from this IP, but we're going to change the story completely and make our own story.
Well, I finally get to run a show.
Yeah.
I've been a writer for so long. It's been my dream. Well, yeah, sure, I got to write the Fallout show, but it's always been my dream to write a show about a grandmother who's sick and has to get her medicine. And you're like, well, I mean, that's
Right.
not, and yeah, there's a skill and
maybe-
tag to it.
And I think maybe they had more leeway with this because obviously Fallout, they're not adapting a single game or anything. Like Fallout
There's
as a
no
brand has
hero
been many
to
times.
honor.
It's a universe
not,
to
you
be
don't
in. Yeah,
nail
yeah.
Kratos or
And every time when you're the main
Mhm.
character, that's not really a character they can adapt because it's whoever you want it to be, basically.
There is
Right.
no Lara Croft kind of figure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Although I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of people being like, how does my Lucy build look? Am I getting close? So that's always fun. I don't know.
That's something I want to ask you guys actually, because you were talking about how Maximus makes bad decisions sometimes, and the goal is how you would play. Like vaguely, like what are kind of the stats? Because Maximus is low intelligence. That's the
Yeah.
point, right? Like he's a low
What's his
intelligence
special?
build, right?
Well, yeah, famously the Fallout stats are special, right? Strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, luck.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm a fool. But yes.
Well, I'm thinking the Squire, Johnny Pemberton, 10 in luck. Like you're just kind
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
like he is surviving at the end of the day. I don't know.
Spending 10
Totally.
days not encountering anybody by himself, vulnerable. Yeah, that's pretty lucky.
I have a feeling I would be tricked into being turned into a ghoul, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Or I
High
would
luck
be that
build.
crazy doctor. I don't know.
Yeah. Having a high luck build is actually a good route to go. Like in New Vegas, you can literally go to the strip, and if you have a high luck, you can play like blackjack, and you have a
That's
higher
cool.
chance of winning because you have a higher luck, and you can make
Huh.
money that way. So it's a viable build.
Well, in Fallout 4, I did create a high luck, low intelligence character. I was randomly I'm like, I just want to get
Yeah.
accidentally succeed. But you have better chance to succeed on some perks with luck if your intelligence is low, which I think is very funny. You're just
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
whoops,
Yeah.
like it's
Oh,
Also,
double
in
luck.
certain games, if you have like a low intelligence build, you can get certain dialogue, like you get unique dialogue options because you're like a dummy.
which I think Maximus gets those.
Yeah.
Well, he says
Yeah.
the thing about penis exploding. I mean, it's maybe the best line in the whole thing is when she says, "Do you want to have sex?" He's like, "Well, here's
Make
the
my
thing.
cock
I
explode?"
know all about that. I don't do that. I'm normal. And she's like, no, it's actually normal to do that. And the look on his face. And then later when he says, do you want to fuck now?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
he grew
man.
up. You got to think he grew up
So
in like
good.
this either all male or like
Yeah.
heavily male society, the
Yeah,
Brotherhood
absolutely.
of Steel.
Yeah.
He was kind of secluded, didn't learn about
Yeah,
sex
by
in the normal way.
priests basically being told, don't touch your dick. Yeah.
Yeah. All we do is look for
Yeah.
artifacts and fucking sub, okay?
I'm dying for a toaster. A toaster, do you even know what that does?
Yeah, dude. Seriously, that's a
Pre-war
good point
attack.
too. Like pointing out kind of the illogical, like logical fallacies of the universe too. Like Jacob said, getting sidetracked, or I'm dying for a toaster. It's like, yeah, there's some weird stuff with these games they don't make.
I mean,
logical sense.
truly, Maximus has the best line in the whole show, and I think there's a reason they built the big trailer around it of everybody wants to save the world. They just disagree on how. The fact that it is these factions all against each other,
Yeah.
this, and the ghoul saying it's not chaos. Somebody has control of this thing. I mean, this is such a great send up of, even at the fucking end of the world, somebody's gonna make sure that your life is fucking terrible so they can make $1 off you. And it's like, this is like such a fucking nightmare for me.
Yeah. That's sort of a reoccurring theme with the Fallout games is like there's always a couple different factions that each have their own ideas about how to save the world or whatever. Like in New Vegas, you have NCR or Caesar's Legion. Caesar's Legion is like another cult that's basically started of like some guy being like, hey, the Roman Empire was like a good way to have a civilization. Let's try to
I'm
emulate
against
that.
them now. I disagree. No,
Right.
Mike, do not join them.
And they're
When
like
you're playing that one.
slavers and they like crucify people and stuff and they're very brutal. But it's funny though because the Caesar guy calls himself Kaiser because he doesn't know he's never heard how Caesar was properly pronounced. So it's
That's
Kaiser's
incredible.
Legion. Yeah.
Sure.
Because it's 200 years after the end of the world.
Sure, they're just finding the books.
Yeah.
I've only read it. I've never heard it. Yeah, Kaiser.
Right. Looks like Kaiser to me.
Earthquake.
But NCR, by comparison, they're pretty normal. They're just very bureaucratic, and they want to essentially establish like a democratic society, like we had pre-war. But then there's other people that are like, no, we want to live like savages, Mad Max style.
I guess I do also want to appreciate that, like all three of these main characters, they like get what they want, but it's like monkey paw, right? Like Walton Goggins is like, I just want a ranch and to be a cowboy. Well, guess what? You're a cowboy now, but it's in the wasteland. I just want to find my dad. Well, guess what? You're gonna, but you're not gonna like it.
Bad answers.
You're gonna be a knight.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
So
It sucks to be a knight.
And how they're all tied into the central mystery is like very well, like the way it all reveals in the last episode, I thought was like pretty brilliant to me because I was like, damn, that's how they're all tying it together. And like the ghoul character to me was my favorite because I was like, his stuff with the flashbacks was so interesting and his wife and everything. And he's just been alive that whole time. And then of course the Kyle MacLachlan of it all, the Lucy's dad. What did you guys think of this reveal?
Well, yeah. I was in Mike. He's back in the desert dropping nukes. Oh no.
That's right.
I was extremely disappointed by the CGI. I didn't think that needed to occur.
Oh, you mean the digitally de-aged Kyle MacLachlan?
I found that to be absolutely absurd. Yeah. Obviously, they needed to like hit the point home as hard as possible. This is the same guy. You really can't do that with like makeup or name or just like acting. I fully get it. I think it just looked terrible. But it was fine. I kind of thought it was super obvious, obviously from the first episode that, you're literally that the evil woman's like, you don't know your father. You need to awaken to a bigger world than you. I was like, well, that's probably not a good sign. But again, I thought it was fine and well executed for sure.
Yeah, I agree on execution.
And Kyle MacLachlan, seeing that board meeting of like all those different companies like Repcon, Robco, Big MT, like again, those are all references to the game. I was like, damn, all these companies fucking working together, capitalism, trying to make a buck off the end of the world.
Classic. But attention to detail with that Kyle MacLachlan plotline. I rewatched like the opening scene to pull some footage for this episode. And then like when she's explaining, I like going for walks and watches movies with my dad, and they're watching a ghoul
The Cooper
human.
Howard movie.
They're watching a Cooper Howard movie, and that it's like
You're
so
watching the
subtle. It's like,
cowboy.
oh, because he's a Cooper Howard fan. That's why he
Yep.
wanted to get him for the commercial. Like, yeah, the way they
That's
tie
right.
everyone together is really smart.
They keep
the
saying,
way-
God, if Cooper was here, he would be so happy. He loves your movies. They say that like a Hank or Hank instead of
Yeah.
Henry.
Henry,
right? They say
yeah.
that like
Henry
5 times.
McLean.
Yeah.
And realizing that Cooper Howard is the original Vault Boy. Like he was canonically like basically that, character of the guy with the thumbs up.
Right.
He's based off of that commercial, right? So he was the first Vault Boy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it all ties together. And I like how he's still wearing his costume from his cowboy days as a
Mhm.
ghoul. But he's just a real cowboy now, basically.
Yeah, it's amazing like theming, and again to tie in your A, B, and C plots, like that feels organic. Like
Yeah.
wow, and I care about all these characters by the end of it. Like I want,
And they keep,
I want everyone to be
they all
happy.
kind of, they all run into each other at different points in the wasteland, but it doesn't feel like it's forced. Like they kind of just
No.
end up where they
this-
need to be.
Again, when I'm kind of criticizing cutting back to the basement vault stuff, it's the disconnect. The power of the flashbacks with Walton Goggins, let alone the fact that it's unraveling the mystery we're interested in, is when he walks out in that vault outfit in the black and white era, in the past. That is shocking to you as a viewer, knowing where that's going. It's, again, narratively tying so many things together, setting your expectations up. Incredibly well written. I would again shout out.
Yeah.
If the vault stuff is your weakest link, it's a pretty good weak link to have still. Like
Yeah.
it's maybe not the best, but
Yeah.
it's better
Half
than
a
a lot
star
of bad stuff. Yeah, half a star
And
off.
I'll do, just again, because I'm not as hot on it as Jacob is, I'll knock one more half star off and do this 4 out of 5. And here's what it is. And I'll just point this out for any viewers that might be in the same boat as me. I am a bit of a doomsdayist. So when I'm going through like a bit of like bad mental health stuff, truly watching that opening scene of like multiple nukes going off in the state of this world, I could see how this would just be a very upsetting show to watch.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the original Fallout, it was based on Mad Max, obviously,
Mhm.
and another movie that Colin, I know you and I have seen and are fans of, A Boy and His Dog, right? That classic
It's
movie.
great. Don
Cooper
Johnson.
Howard did that movie in this.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's sort
right,
of that's
right.
a
He has a
reference to
poster.
that. I think A Man and His
That's right.
Dog, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
But if you remember in A Boy and His Dog, the underground society that they go to that's like super weird, like that was kind of the original inspiration for the vaults, right?
That's
Mm.
funny.
So they've got that post-apocalyptic aesthetic, but I think the show nails the tone of the series where it's like it can be really goofy and comedic at times, but it's also very serious, and you're dealing with like people dying, obviously, and the end of the world, and like there's a lot of serious dark stuff here, but there's also a lot of comedic stuff, and I think they nail that tone because the tone can kind of be all over the place a lot of times. I think they do a good job of making it all sort of make sense and fit together.
To run the spectrum of those emotions, where like you get an Okie Dokie and then like graphic gore, broken foot and shit, or a head exploding. It's like, how do you balance that tone? And somehow they find a way to, because all that
Well,
stuff
Lucy
is
she's so naive coming out of the vault, and then learns a hard lesson about the real world, basically, where she's using this very like HR speak, conflict resolution stuff,
Mhm.
and then is like very quickly realizing like, oh damn, it's like kill or be killed out here. And even the scene where she gets her finger cut off, right? Because she cuts off the ghoul's finger at one point, and then he's like cuts her finger off. He's like, that's the closest we've had to a
honest exchange.
Yep.
I like that.
But like that's graphic, you'll see a lot of gore and stuff, and then there'll be like a sight gag later. It's like, huh.
Yeah.
She'll be covered in blood for most of the jokes she makes, Mike.
Yeah, she's definitely a charisma character because she gets away with a lot of stuff by just charming people, right?
10 on charisma,
Sure.
9 on intelligence, maybe 8. She does get tricked a couple times.
Yeah.
Perception low. That's good. I like that.
Maximus
you
is
can't
like
read a room.
Yes.
Maximus is like low intelligence, low charisma, but high strength and endurance and
Yes.
perception or something.
And then agility and stuff for the ghoul for his aiming, and he has like the perception for the vats. He's out here.
My main thing about being a squire, I just couldn't carry the equipment around. I would just get so tired.
Yeah.
Like, why not have the robot man carry the heavy thing?
Yes. Thank you.
But you see kind of what a shitty society it is where you're like squiring for this fucking knight who's like an asshole to you, and then it turns out he's Michael Rappaport, and then he dies, and you're like,
Boy,
Mm-hmm.
yes, crazy. Was shocked to see Michael Rappaport. I thought you were going to say, boy, another moment to shout out some incredibly unique writing. When Johnny Pemberton, the new young squire who comes in and he's hanging out with Maximus, and it's like, hey, so tell me, my previous squire died. What do you think about that? And what is the young one's name? It's not Titus. Titus is the one who died. Who's the new one?
Thaddeus.
Thaddeus. Thank you. So when Thaddeus is sitting there and he's like, well, the thing is, we grew up in a hard way and everybody used to give me shit. Then we targeted this new guy. We started giving him shit.
Yeah.
I feel bad because he never found that new person to target, because that's kind of how the way is. What a fucking thing to call out this fucking... I mean, yes, that is a unique society, but that's not a unique situation. Everybody's been the new person somewhere who kind of gets shit, and then you join in because you get shit to someone else. It's so
he's saying it to the person.
Yes.
And he doesn't even know. And that's because basically, Normies, we should say, Maximus is a squire to a knight named Titus who dies in the field. Maximus takes over his identity essentially and takes his power armor, gets a new squire called Thaddeus who thinks he's Titus, and Thaddeus, the Johnny Pemberton character, basically they all used to beat up Maximus because he needed someone else to divert because he was getting beat up before Maximus came along.
Which is super interesting, especially when he finds out, and then their kind of dynamic changes. Eventually, there's maybe some respect. But yeah, great writing.
But again,
Maximus
the way
is asking him because he wants to know, what did you think of me? Right? He's like sussing that out.
But the way Maximus handled a lot of this situation, I think, was just a low intelligence because, you could have oh, Titus died in the field. I didn't kill him or anything. He just died, and then I took over his power suit. But immediately,
what you want me to do? There was a mission to do. It's like that's all you would have to say. Yeah.
He could have, if he had a higher speech skill, let's say, he could have talked his way out of it better.
But I disagree with people who say it's bad writing, because it's good writing for a low intelligence character.
Yeah, it's not bad writing for sure. Yeah,
some people have been complaining he makes dumb decisions. That's on brand.
That's what makes the Maximus character interesting, is because he's not the smartest guy, but he's like doing the best he can, and he does make mistakes, but he's learning. Like when he steals the power cell from the vault, and then she convinces him to not take it, and he's like, "You're a good person, right?" So he's learning.
That's just a big misunderstanding. They're going to let her go. We're going to give you 2 weeks of supplies for the desert. I really like that.
I think that was going to be an orgy. I didn't know what was going to happen there. I was like, this is so strange.
That was wild. But that's kind of show that every vault has its own thing going on. And Vault Co is behind a lot of this bad shit the whole time, and that's been in the games for sure.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So I learned about the power core. Thaddeus steals it from his suit, and then I'm playing the game and I'm like, oh, I got to take the power core out when I get out of this, or someone's going to steal the whole suit. Like that's a real thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Like you got to take the battery with you, or they're going to steal your stuff. It's like, wow, they really did attention to detail for this. I got to what's the superstore called? I go to that Walmart. Oh, geez.
I've been playing New Vegas, so.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that Walmart survives into the apocalypse. That's important to me.
Super Duper Mart. They go to the Super Duper Mart. And I just did that in Fallout 4, and I'm like, oh, that was from the show too. And I don't know, it's just it was really cool to kind of get those references. So
yeah,
dog.
Yeah, there's just a ton of references. I mean, it's crazy, and there's a lot of guest stars that show up. Some big names, right? I like when the robot shows up, and it's Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows. And then we see his character in the flashback, and you're like, oh man. And he's like, I sold my voice rights to this fucking robot company or whatever.
And they gave me a robot, and I have to hear my voice asking me if I want anything.
I also do again, the shittiness of the corporatization of the world, that the Vault Tech guy to the cowboy's wife, who's wearing her Pip-Boy, says we found a way to integrate the Pip-Boy to the vault. So now those work seamlessly together. It's like everything is just what a piece of shit everything fucking is.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the wasteland, though.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
We want to discuss kind of the final twist and where we leave things off for the end of this season, because I'm hooked for season 2. Like, let's go. You know?
Yeah. So basically, Lucy, she's searching for her dad, right? Her dad was kidnapped by this lady
Moldiver.
who, in the beginning,
Moldiver. I'm looking for Moldiver.
yeah. Where you get this twist
Strange
where you
name.
think that she's getting married to this other person from another vault. They come in, turns out it's a bunch of barbarians from the upper world, right? They start
Raiders,
killing
yeah.
a bunch of people. They kidnap her dad. She's like, "What the fuck?" And that was a crazy episode too, where she's like, married this guy. They have sex, and then he's like, "Well, I gotta kill you now."
Cleans his junk off on the curtain real quick. Like,
Hey,
very
yeah.
bizarre.
you guys want to hear like how easy it would be for me to abandon every ideal I have? I go down there with my band of savages. I marry a beautiful woman and we have sex. Guess what? I'm protecting her for the rest of my life. Like I will.
There was
I
like,
will
yeah, like
kill every other savage.
You have
There's
food
not a
shelter
chance
here?
I give up on this life.
Mhm.
No, there's not a chance now.
and that guy was like, "Just so you know, this is the best day of my life." But then he does
Yes.
start like attacking her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be like Maximus. Like, I've never had caviar before. This is great. I had a hot shower. I have
Mhm.
caviar. I
My
have
penis
oysters.
exploded. It did that thing. It turned into a pimple and it exploded. I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
True.
So Kyle MacLachlan gets kidnapped, right? So her mission is to find her
Kind of
dad.
negotiates her safety to him be taken instead, but we learn that was actually the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's this whole plot with Michael Emerson from Lost, right? His head has very important thing inside of it. Everyone's after the head. Eventually, by the end of it, she brings the head to Moldiver, and she learns the truth, right? And it turns out that they're at Griffith Observatory. It's the NCR headquarters. She's part of NCR, New California Republic. That's crazy.
Not random raiders, right?
Yeah.
Pause for me real quick, Jacob, and sorry if this is spoilers for one of the ones Mike's playing, but so who is the guy, who is Michael Emerson creating the cold fusion? Who is he part of? That is not
Well, he
the
was from the
NCR,
Enclave. That's a different.
What is the Enclave?
Yeah, the Enclave is another faction. They were one of the main factions in Fallout 3. They're kind of like they're like a bunch of scientists and stuff that
like the
live.
Institute.
Yeah, kind of.
Science nerds in the shadows.
But they're not the vault where the scientists led, because obviously that turns into the one with the Cyclops.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those were all scientists.
Right. No, he's from the Enclave, which is like a different society. We haven't really seen too much about them, but I'm thinking maybe we'll see more in season 2.
Okay. But they were just trying to make cold fusion, and then he was just like, no.
Yeah, they have a lot of advanced technology compared to some of the other factions. But basically, the Enclave, NCR, Brotherhood of Steel, these are all different factions that exist in the games. And like every game, there's like a couple factions that you can side with in typical Bethesda style, right?
And they all wanted the cold fusion device. And that's why the Brotherhood, Maximus is like, I can tell you where to get it when he gives them a fake head. Low intelligence move. He thinks that they're going to buy it. Of course they don't.
Right.
So to bail himself out, he leads them to where Lucy's actually.
And everyone wants that because it's, whoever controls the energy controls the world, right?
Brotherhood of Steel wants it because it would unlimited empower all their suits and their
and Brotherhood of Steel love tech, love the pre-war tech. They're trying to get as much as possible, and they're always fighting like NCR over different technology and stuff. The NCR are probably the closest thing to like a good faction in terms of like their only weakness really is that they're like overly bureaucratic. Kind of.
Well, Moldiver reveals they want it because she's like, well, we're just going to turn the lights on. And I'm like, yeah let's do that. That sounds great.
And so they founded that city, Shady Sands, which when obviously their twist is that Kyle MacLachlan came and basically his wife escaped the vault because she found out the truth, took the kids, and like was going to live in Shady Sands. He comes and like destroys the whole city, basically, right? That's the big twist. And that's the city that Maximus is from as a kid. So we see the flashbacks of him coming out. He's like hides in a fridge, right? He comes out of the fridge and he sees a Brotherhood of Steel guy.
he crystal
Indeed.
skulls it, Jacob.
Yeah.
He fucking that's how
That
he
lead
was the
line
only
fridge.
one who survives. That's great.
Yeah. And the first thing he sees is a Brotherhood of Steel knight. So he joins the Brotherhood of Steel.
It's Mando. I mean, Mike called it out. It's he's
Yeah.
saved as a baby. The Mandalorian flies down in his,
He joins
Beskar
the
armor and is
Zealots.
like, "Come here, kid." Yeah, and flies away.
Yep.
Johnny Pemberton's Grogu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we find out Kyle MacLachlan, he's a bad guy, and he in Vault-Tec is bad.
And so they want to withhold the cold fusion because they want to maintain control over, their leverage in the Vault Dwellers, etc. So
Yeah. So everyone
Right.
wants the power, right?
mhm.
So Moldaver, we find out maybe she's not so bad. She also existed pre-war, which I don't know how they didn't explain how she's still alive. Maybe she was frozen in a pod
No.
too or something.
Yeah. Or why you would choose this time to come out, but maybe she's been out for 10, 20 years. Who knows?
Yeah, well, we see that
Mhm.
she apparently knew her Lucy's mom, right, in the flashbacks. And so Lucy's remembering, oh yeah, I met you when I was a little girl. And so yeah, Kyle MacLachlan, he's bad. He gets away, he steals the power armor. And I don't know if you guys understand the significance of this last shot in the show. He's running away towards the skyline of New Vegas.
I did not know what that was. Okay.
That
I thought that
skyline,
was
that
the
last
Enclave.
shot.
Okay.
No, that's
Okay.
Vegas. And then if you look at the credits of the episode, it pulls back and you see all the different signs like the Tops Casino and stuff and all the things that are
Oh.
in New Vegas. And I'm like, damn, so he's going to New Vegas in season 2.
Wow.
So I was like, how's that going to tie in?
So
I'm
what
very
does that
excited
mean?
for
And
that.
so again, it's post that game. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
Okay.
And what Maximus is
Basically-
knocked out, Lucy's on the move with the ghoul, right?
Yes. This
Yeah.
is look. I'm very excited for this. Here's the unfortunate thing where Jacob's again like, this is the best video game thing ever. Now you kind of have to compare it and say it is this trope that we've called out on 1,000 things, but doesn't it kind of become The Last of Us? The grizzled cowboy male character has to team up with a girl to go on a quest where you're like, yes, okay, that is, I've seen
Well-
it 5,000 times. I understand that's where you're headed now. But it's a pairing that I'm so into because I've loved these characters this whole first season.
And we
So-
see
Yeah.
their journey over this first
Yeah.
season where they get off they're at odds, they get off on the wrong foot, but she's sort of learning that his outlook on life through being in the wasteland and everything and becoming less
It's not-
less naive.
It's not cynicism, it's intelligence, that he has a point of view of survivability that she needs to learn to embrace, right?
Yeah.
And the timing of showing how the ghoul powers work and he needs Radaway, showing that he doesn't have it and he tries to get to that pharmacy and like he barely makes it and turning the tables to where she now has a chance to help him even though he's been a dick. Like way to like depower him to give her a chance to do her own thing. Like just smart writing, man.
Yeah.
Great.
And again,
pacing.
I love the way they show the feral ghouls and everything where he goes to that one guy who's like, my name's Roger, right? Whatever his name is.
Roger!
Yeah.
And you see, like that's something that the ghouls do, so they don't forget their identity as they're turning. Like, my name is Jacob. My name is Jacob. I can't forget that.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark stuff when you think about it.
But they can hibernate because obviously they had to wake up Walton Goggins to start. If you're going feral, you can just choose to like dig underground and just like go to sleep or something. Like
I'm
a
not
cicada.
really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess
It
he
looked like
was
they have
hibernating in the grave.
IVs of maybe
Yeah.
Radaway. Like if you're a ghoul, you just live forever if you have enough Radaway, is what I'm guessing.
Basically,
Yeah, yes.
because he's lived for like 200
Yeah,
years.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like Kyle MacLachlan's headed towards New Vegas. And one other thing about New Vegas I wanted to mention. So another reference in the show. So the big plot, the overarching plot of New Vegas is that this New Vegas Strip, where the casinos are and stuff, is sort of controlled by this guy named Mr. House, who is this old rich guy who basically extended his life through science. And was, so he's lived for like 200 years. And so in New Vegas, like you side with different factions, whoever controls the Hoover Dam and takes control of the strip. So you can side with Mr. House as one of the. Mr. House is one of the people in that Vault-Tec meeting. Is a young Mr. House.
In the round table. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's another reference to New Vegas,
Interesting.
and we see him heading towards New Vegas at the end. So I'm interested to see how that ties in. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Jacob? Because I remember something you told me about that game. Is that Matthew Perry? Because I know Matthew Perry stars as the villain in that game, right?
Yes, he's the guy that shoots you in the head in the beginning of the game. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Could I be any
Benny.
more villainous?
Could I be Mr. House?
That's right, because that's the big. But Mr. House in New Vegas is voiced by Rene Auberjonois, Odo.
Odo.
Deep Space Nine,
Oh,
so
it's
RIP.
not Chandler. It's Rene Auberjonois.
No, Matthew Perry is the voice of Benny, who's the guy that. The inciting incident of New Vegas is basically you play a courier who's carrying this platinum poker chip that has some secret technology in it. And the first thing that happens is you get shot in the head by Matthew Perry's character. But then you wake up because this doctor saved you. And your initial incident is you want to find this guy that shot you in the head, but then it leads into a bigger plot.
And you come across Rene Auberjonois. That's wild. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh. And Mr. House has this robot army that he controls of these robots that that's how he's able to control the strip. But NCR and Caesar's Legion, all these different factions want control of the strip for themselves.
The Jem'Hadar is the name of the army, Jacob? That's fascinating.
Yep. Dang.
So yeah, I'm just excited for where this leads.
So you could choose to side with Mr. House. Some say House always wins.
Yeah,
but if we got
Mr. House. Yeah,
we got to determine which ending they decided is canon. But if Mr. House is around, theoretically, Kyle MacLachlan knows this and is like, I know him from the old Vault-Tec days. Let me go hook up with Mr. House. He can protect me, and then that's maybe where we're at.
That's what I'm wondering.
That's a predictor.
Because, like,
NCR,
the Shady
some
Sands
conversation down there. There's not. It's. I know that he set up that like, oh, I called the brain on the Roomba, and I don't know if you guys watch it with subtitles, but that thing is called Brain on the Roomba.
Nice.
But I would assume that he's like, hey, call everybody. Dave, I need to know what's
overseers
going
definitely
on in Vegas.
know, way more than what they're letting on.
They're all
they
able
know
to talk
about
to
the workings of the upper
mm-hmm.
world. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it ties in because obviously there is different endings. And Shady Sands being destroyed in the show, people thought maybe that was invalidated certain things in New Vegas. I don't think it does, though. I think the way the timeline works, it makes sense. But it seems like the siding with the NCR is the canon ending for New Vegas, but I'm just guessing.
Right. But either way, it's like it's inevitable, especially if Kyle MacLachlan's here and that Vault-Tec has a thing. His homie, Mr. House, hey man, this Shady Sands thing is really fucking with me. Can you do something?
Hey,
you know what I mean?
You can also kill Mr. House in the game. Yeah.
or that. Mr. House is dead. We're gonna revenge. There's a way you could write it in with whatever ending, but I'd be curious to see it, and maybe I'll have to install a running mod so I can actually play New Vegas before that time.
Look.
I was gonna say, it seems like we're running towards our final thoughts here.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to that, let me ask you guys this. I guess mainly towards Jacob. Is there elements you want to see? So I know you're saying the New Vegas stuff. I know some fan favorite stuff, like the writers said that what's the skull thing with the horns? They said we're gonna see like a real one of those, a death claw next season.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta see more creatures, right? We saw the rad roaches. We saw something that came out of the water. But we have to see the death claws. We have to see the rad scorpions.
You saying robots is interesting. I'd like to see some robots, some mole rats. That's cool.
Some robots. Yeah, we saw the one robot, which is in the game too. Snip.
Do they all just look like that? Is that just what they all look like?
It's a model.
That's one kind of robot. But there's other kind of robots.
It's kind of a Star Wars probe droid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like more automaton style robots too. I think that's what Mr. House
That's
has.
what I'm looking for. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, there's like his Securitrons, which are like these guys that roll around on a wheel type of thing.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
But I'll tell you what, in the final thoughts, I'll give you my recommendations for which Fallout games you should play.
And I'll give you my recommendations for which ones to know. I won't do that. But The only thing I want to see in a new season that I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they're going to put, I want to see people arranging furniture at an abandoned drive-in movie theater for 7 episodes straight. Putting up
That's
little chairs, building a
Yeah.
fence.
making your
Woo,
So you've been
baby.
playing, like you said,
Yeah.
you've been playing Fallout 4 this weekend, and this
Yeah.
is a big thing that this show is causing a lot of people to want to play the Fallout games. And Fallout 4, the player count on Steam was approaching the number of people playing Helldivers 2 this weekend.
Wow.
So it's been a big thing. And this is crazy that Bethesda did not capitalize on this because Fallout 5, hypothetically, is so far off. They're like, yeah, that's after we make the next Elder Scrolls game, we're going to make Fallout 5. Well, it's like, when are you making the next Elder Scrolls
Not
game?
going to be a
2020.
There will be a real Fallout by that.
We'll have 4
Yeah.
seasons of this and a real Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So they're missing all this. And Steam did put the Fallout games on sale when this came out, the show and everything, which was smart. But people,
I saw
going back
Twitch
to,
post. A Twitch post said we're partying like it's 2016 out here. That's how many people were fucking playing Fallout 4. And I saw those big numbers. That's very.
they're going
cool
back to 4. They're going back to New Vegas. They're going to 76, which had a huge player count rise, where it's like only the hardcore people were still playing 76 before this, right? And now it's like all these
Well,
new
you're the
players
only ones
coming
in
to
the
76.
game. If you're like,
Yeah,
you
right.
walk around, you can only find 4 other people. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you are the only one who's playing that shit. Jesus.
True.
But so a lot of people have been trying that out. But you've been on 4, and I wanted to ask you. So you've been doing the settlement building, right?
Mhm.
But you've been doing the drive-in theater, which I thought was interesting because the first settlement that you find called Sanctuary, right, which is right by that gas station. That
Right.
was the one that when I was playing, I
That's
really
the one
built
they
that
want
one
you
up.
to mess with. Yeah.
Well, there's a
You
million. Like, you
choose
can
your hotel is.
That's the one the story puts you in as your like tutorial base. Yeah.
basically, yeah. As you play the game, you'll find more and more of these settlements, and you have to give them beds and electricity and all this stuff, so more people will come. And like, basically, you're working for these guys called the Minutemen, which is another faction that hasn't been introduced in the show yet. And they're trying to repopulate the area, right? So they're providing
Make it
all these
safe.
settlements.
Well,
Yeah.
not in
That's
that way.
great. I like that. That's great. Jacob,
That's why
out
they're
here
called
trying to tell me a
Minutemen.
fucking Parking lot's cooler than a drive-in theater. I'm with Mike on this. What are you talking about, dog?
They got a cul-de-sac. It's like a
Well,
suburban.
Sanctuary, yeah, it's like the first one you see, and so I started like improving that one, and then I realized there's like a bunch of these spots. So you have to go around to each
Too
one
many.
if you want to. But I just spent a lot of time on this one, making it look really nice. I built these houses out of like different wall pieces and stuff. Put a bunch of beds in there. I put defenses down so people couldn't attack it, and like it's crazy. You get you get electricity, all this stuff.
Yeah, I thought I was going to hate that part, but I love it.
Yeah, and that's something that they started with Skyrim, where you can make your own house, like your own manor in Skyrim, which was a DLC.
Mhm.
And then they're like, okay, we're going to add building into Fallout 4, and then 76 is greatly expanded because you can just like build anywhere. That's like the big selling point of 76. Now Starfield, which,
Build a
like I
ship.
said, is a lot like Fallout 4 in space. You can build your own bases and stuff.
Is Mike gonna get Starfield? Interesting.
I'm scared,
Interesting.
I would stick to Fallout 4 for now.
Fair. Oh, I have plenty of time on it, but I like the drive-in movie theater because I like a drive-in movie theater. There's something novel about just building a little village in a drive-in theater parking lot with a little projector room and stuff. It's neat.
That would be my Fred Armisen DJ role in the future, Mike. I'd be like the maniac in like scrap clothing who's like, I'm here to tear your ticket. Are you here for the drive-in movie? And they'd be like, nothing is playing.
Yeah.
This guy's insane.
I want to fix the projector. I don't think you can, but I would love to have like a little dumb reel playing anyway.
Listen,
But-
there was a drive-in movie theater in New Vegas too.
There's a drive-in movie theater in Cyberpunk, and that was one of my favorite side missions too. So
That is, a classic.
But all this to say, they might not have capitalized, but according to Bethesda, April 25th, Fallout 4 is getting like a next-gen update for free. So they are going to put some stuff in it. So Fallout 4
Who knows
will be
even what
updated.
that means?
But that just frame rate, like what, like
Frame
true-
rate,
what
I think
is-
stability.
so, yeah, graphics.
I'm playing vanilla. It has long loading times still, even with like a supercomputer. So who knows what they're going to do? But they're doing something.
Mike, you did share the funniest video when you said, I'm working on getting the frame rate right for this new Vegas.
Yeah.
You're like, it's going at 3,000 at the moment. It was like the craziest
You're
video
moving at the
you
speed of the
shared.
frame rate.
Yeah.
I'm like,
was
I said,
it's
how do these get
insane.
released? Yeah. Anyway, I
I
did
didn't
come
know what
around
you were
on it.
doing with 4. I never had
Jacob's
any technical
number one
issues with
video
4.
game draft pick. Buggy, you need to do mods to run. I'm
No,
choosing
look,
Fallout New Vegas,
I'm so
number
mad.
one
I'm
pick.
furious.
All right. Well, on the
Um,
other side of this, tell us how
as-
mad you are.
Yes, I will.
We're back, giving our final thoughts here on Fallout, the new series on Amazon Prime.
That's
and
right.
we're gonna finish Jacob's rant here because Jacob, tell us which one of these
Look.
games we should be playing.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna be, I'm gonna be an elitist. I'm gonna be a New
Mhm.
Vegas purist and say, hot take, New Vegas is still the best Fallout game, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. A lot of people have that opinion. There's, 4 has its defenders, 3 has its defenders. 76, I don't think has any defenders, but
What
it is
does-
greatly
what-
improved, like I said. Yeah.
What does Obsidian make now? What do they do?
Well, they
Hmm.
make recently they made the Outer Worlds, which is a very Fallout-esque RPG.
It's kind of their version of Starfield.
Mhm.
Yeah. A little bit
Interesting.
smaller in scope, but it's a space RPG where capitalism is a big theme. But they're really good at writing these RPGs where you have a lot of player choice, and I think that's what they kind of
Interesting.
specialize in.
Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2. Basically, the guy who made the director of New Vegas was this guy named Josh Sawyer, who I'm a really big fan of as like a game director. He also made this game recently called Pentanets. Have you heard of that game? Pentanets. Anyways, big fan of Josh Sawyer, so I guess I'll just shout that out.
Pentanets.
But
That's the Fallout game you should play.
Sure.
yeah, well, it's not really a Fallout game, but
I know.
I won't go into that now. But New Vegas, first of all, if you can get past the movement speed, which I don't think is a big deal, but I guess if it's a deal breaker to you, you just got to get over it.
You walk a lot.
I don't know. Maybe you have to get used to it, but for me, it's not really.
Right.
It doesn't really bother me. I was playing all day Sunday. I was trekking across the Mojave. I had spurs that were jingle jangle jingling. And it was a great time. I was listening to Mr. New Vegas on the radio.
And the old Hoover Dam.
That's right. And I think you're playing a game, a 15-year-old game. It's not going to have all the modern conveniences that you Gen Zers out there, are
There's
used
a lot
to.
of games from 15 years ago I can run in.
Mhm.
You can okay. I don't
I want
understand
you to
this.
That you
know
can
that.
sprint. That you can sprint. Sorry. Yeah.
You don't need to sprint, okay? You can
I
go
can
fast
sprint
enough.
Halo. I can sprint Halo too.
Mhm. Call
Yeah.
of Duty.
More
Those
than
games are
15 years
trash.
ago.
Look, it's like you're playing Demon Souls and you're expecting it to run like, Elden Ring. You
No,
know
but
what
you
I'm
can
saying?
sprint in Demon
Oh,
That's a good
Souls.
analogy.
You
But
can
that's
sprint
like
in
an
both.
action. That's an action game. It's a different kind of game. This the emphasis is
guess.
on storytelling,
I get
writing.
what you're saying.
Look, Fallout 3, it doesn't have aim down sights. Okay, you can't when you zoom
Oh,
in
wow.
to aim, it just zooms your screen in a little bit.
Wow.
So they added aiming down sights for New Vegas. So just be thankful they have that. Okay.
Hey, look, we're getting better.
Can we just
Now,
say?
yeah.
I'm with you with New Vegas. Everyone says the narrative is the best, and I do want to experience it. I think the idea of post-apocalyptic Las Vegas, as seen in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, is a great idea when done
Yeah.
correctly. I want to explore that. That sounds cool, like objectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting stuck on the tutorial mission where you go shoot some geckos. You can just skip that. You don't even have to do that. That just teaches you how to shoot at stuff.
You're right. I'll give it another try when
I don't know.
100 hours past 4. The only thing I would say for 4, I'm sure the story is worse. From someone who knows nothing, it feels like I'm in the universe of the show. I don't know if New Vegas feels that way, but
I think
4 to
all
me
the
feels
games feel
very
that
much
way.
fair. Okay.
All the games have
Where's
that feel, I think.
4 is California?
No, 4 is actually
4 is
near
Boston.
4 is Boston.
3
you
is
said
DC.
The Tea Parties or whatever.
the
76
Commonwealth.
The Minutemen.
The Minutemen. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 is the DC area. New Vegas is Nevada, obviously.
3 is the DC area? Do you just like walk
Capital
through the
Wasteland.
fucking... Yeah, but do you like
Capital
walk through the
Wasteland.
White House? Like fucking, just like...
I don't know, maybe.
Monument
Rumbled
Row,
up.
Um,
whatever.
Crazy.
And then 4 is Boston, and then 76 is like West Virginia. So a lot of
Appalachia,
them are
right?
East Coast. That's why I think New Vegas has sort of the most tie-ins to the show because it's West Coast based.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
true.
Which
And I
the
do like
original
that they did
Fallout 1 and
Hollywood.
2 were more West Coast as well.
Huh.
And
Nice.
I've also played, so Fallout was originally a spiritual sequel to a game called Wasteland, which came out in 1988, a very early game. And they eventually made Wasteland 2 and 3 in the 2010s. And I've played both those games, and those are top-down RPGs with turn-based combat and that kind of thing.
That's right.
And
I
that's sort of
remember
like a weird parallel universe to Fallout where you play as a ranger and you go around and you do stuff. So
Nice.
I'm well versed in the post-apocalyptic RPGs, you could
I
say.
think
The
Mad Max
Wasteland.
the game is the best Fallout game with the
Yeah,
cars.
I've played the Mad Max game too. So
Really?
yeah, that's a fun game. But anyway, I would say, look, give New Vegas a try. It's very buggy. It crashes a lot. It's got problems. But again, it's from 2010. It had an 18-month development cycle. It was made very, very quickly. It has a lot of problems. It needs a remaster or a remake. Not even a remaster, really, because it needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. But if you had better graphics and gameplay with New Vegas storyline, I think it would be a huge seller. And look at look at Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth, and all this stuff.
Mhm.
People love it. So
Yeah.
where's the Fallout New Vegas remake? You know what I'm saying? Come on, Bethesda.
And I'm joking about the running, we're kind of having fun here, but like despite the bugginess and the issues, like it is still considered like one of the best RPG experiences. Like despite
think
its problems, it's still highly
Yeah.
acclaimed is what I'm saying. It rises above that stuff that we're kind of poking fun at.
I think you're just spoiled by modern conveniences.
Like my game running.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah. But here's the thing: play Fallout 4 if you want the more shooter elements. I mean, New Vegas has that too, but it's just not as good. The other thing with New Vegas, you can mod it to varying degrees of success. Sometimes that'll break your game worse, but you can add a sprint mod, which was what I, with my last playthrough on Steam, I added a bunch of mods and stuff, and that was pretty fun. But I've been doing a vanilla playthrough this whole weekend, and I've been enjoying it. And I just, the other thing is, here's the thing: there's no sprint, but there's an auto run button. You just hit Q, and you just auto run. So I don't have to hold down the run button manually, and I just steer with my mouse. I'm watching NBA playoffs on my second screen. I'm having a great time.
I'm running the
play
race,
on controller.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a button. There's not a run button.
You like
too,
click the
I'm
analog.
a
Q button.
I'm an old school PC boy, so I like to use mouse and keyboard for the Fallout games.
I have carpal tunnel. No,
Yeah.
that's fine. My hot take, I'm going to play New Vegas at some point because I am a Fallout boy now. I'm in a jumpsuit. Has Bethesda ever made an actually good game? Because that's Obsidian. Has Bethesda made an actually good, not broken game?
Did Bethesda do
Skyrim.
Skyrim? Yeah, I mean Skyrim.
And Oblivion, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's it.
But see, you're like if you played Morrowind today, you'd be like, man, these graphics look terrible, right? But
I'm not saying that. It's just it wasn't complete.
playing
It was supposed to be an
Daggerfall.
MMO and it's empty.
Morrowind,
Anyway,
or you're thinking
yeah.
of Daggerfall, I think.
I don't think so. Anyway, I'm getting in the weeds.
Morrowind is like considered.
Daggerfall was
like
the
New
one where
Vegas
you
is
had
like
no
the
map.
best,
You just
Yeah,
walked.
Daggerfall
You
was a
guys remember
very,
that?
very
Yeah,
early
maybe that's
open
it.
world concept where it was
You just
very
get
empty.
lost. It was insane.
But it used
Yeah.
procedurally generated open
That's
world, which
right.
for the time was very new. Morrowind is considered like the New Vegas of Elder Scrolls in that it's like the best storyline, but has a lot of. It's a very old game.
A little bit of friction.
Oblivion. I liked Oblivion. Okay,
I like
and then-
Oblivion.
You like Oblivion?
Patrick Stewart.
Again, it's a very old game. Doesn't quite live up. Like the combat and stuff isn't great.
Right.
But New Vegas, I'm a purist. I think it's the best Fallout game. I like Fallout 4. If you're more of a normie, you should start with that one. I think, like Mike.
I'm
Would
a
you call
3
me?
purist. I've never played it. I'm gonna watch a clip of Liam Neeson talking the second I get off of this.
3 is probably my least favorite, at least of those 3, because of 3, New Vegas, and 4. I think it's the worst one. it has the same like engine as New Vegas, so it looks and plays the same as New Vegas, except worse, and it has a worse storyline and a worse location, environment, and everything. So I recommend that one the least. I say start with 4 to like get an intro into the world. If you enjoy that, but you want a really good RPG story, and I could go on for like an hour about why the progression of the story is so good in New Vegas, but there's videos on YouTube that you can watch about it that could do a better job in explaining it than
Robotrons
I
we can
am.
check in with.
Right.
Yeah. So I say start with 4. Then if you really like that, jump into New Vegas. Forgive the movement speed if you can. Just get used to it. You'll be fine. You can fast travel too.
Fair.
But yeah,
I'm
jump into
speeding.
that. Then try 3. So I would go backwards from 4 basically, and then try New Vegas if you really want to. If you really are really into it,
Really about it.
Yeah.
I'm playing vanilla 4, no mods, and besides that frame rate thing, it hasn't crashed. Like it's running well. So I don't know if they've made stability updates over the years and we're getting a new update, but it's been a pretty decent user experience, completely vanilla. So I don't know.
4, yeah, I like
Easy
4.
entry
Like, don't
point.
get me wrong, I played like 100 hours of it.
If I've never
and-
had a pizza, right? And like maybe
Yeah, it's you're
pepperoni's
tasting
better.
it.
It's like
Yeah.
it's gonna be pretty good even with cheese, right?
I kind of like this. Shout out to
Yeah.
Joe. He's been liking 4, right? Wasn't he saying he was playing him?
Yep.
Yeah,
I believe
but look, I'm on the side of the purist. New Vegas for life. 4's got some good gunplay though. I don't like the main storyline. Oh, you got to go find my baby or whatever. Who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Let that baby die.
hey, what's the difference between that and your dad?
Right.
That's
Your
3.
dad's just a big baby.
That's right. that's right.
Bethesda doesn't understand what makes Fallout, and I think Obsidian did, and that's why Bethesda, they've always had a weird relationship with New Vegas where they don't want to admit that it's the best one, so they like kind of hide it, and that's why people thought they were trying to retcon it in this show, but I don't think they are. But they
It's
are very
interesting
like
to be overly sensitive to it, though.
yeah, because Todd Howard's like, oh, everyone likes New Vegas. We didn't, nobody likes our games, and also
I didn't make that
nobody
one.
likes Starfield.
Shut up about it. Yeah,
And we only gave him 18 months to do it.
He thought
Buy
Starfield was going to
Starfield.
be like the new Skyrim, basically, where everyone was going to be playing it for a decade, and then it flopped big time. So
Even the
big
modders
time.
can't fix it. They're like, sorry, dog. Like the
yeah,
people you rely on most, Bethesda modders, even they're like, sorry, dude, I just can't help you.
I could go on about all the problems that Starfield had too, but I still enjoy it as like a chill game where I can fly around, loot some points of interest, and put way too much in my inventory, and then I have to dump out a bunch because I'm overweight, just like in every Fallout game. It's a great
Overburdened.
time.
Well, suffice to say, this whole spirited conversation has come out of the Amazon TV show, which I think we all like a lot. Colin's at 4 stars. I'm maybe 4.5. Jacob, where are your stars at?
I mean, here's the thing. I think it's the most successful video game adaptation of all time, in that it's the most successful at adapting the source material, but making
good
an
argument
original
for it.
story in the world of the games. And I don't think that's ever been done before. So I think that kind of blows my mind that they were so successful. So I'll say 4.5. I had some minor nitpicks about some of the pacing. Like I said, the vault scenes, I thought the pacing drags a little bit because they had to keep cutting back. And this whole mystery with the brother character was definitely my least favorite part of it. But I don't think it was bad necessarily. And I understand why it's there. But as a hardcore fan, it was less interesting to me. But I think the show works for the hardcore fans. It works for the newbies. It works for everybody. So I would recommend it. Yeah, 4.5 stars.
I've never seen game elements translated to the screen in such a way when Thaddeus shoots a full clip at him and misses every shot, and they're just like, it's like that happens
Low
to me all the
perception.
time with the VATs. I'm trying to hit the head and it just
Yeah.
miss, and I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah. And Mike, when you're playing Fallout 4, are you looting you're picking up every single duct tape and piece of junk off the ground so you can mod your guns and stuff?
I haven't done the modding of the guns, but once I figured out how much ceramic and copper I need to make light bulbs and toilets for my little houses,
you need so
looting
much
it all.
scrap.
Mike,
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. You're like the mayor. That's great. Dog.
I got to work on it some more, but I want to give you guys a secret tour.
Oh, I'm
I'm
excited,
that
yeah.
proud of it, like a Minecraft tour.
I've done some tours of bases friends have built in my life. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I'm well equipped to do that.
And
I
that's
mean,
the thing. Like, I
multi-apartment
love
units
that
out of
element
larger
of it.
rooms. It's been great.
It's your favorite thing in video games. The fact that you're like,
Yeah.
no, not that one.
It's still a
Right.
good game. It's still a good game. I just wish it had a better main storyline
Yeah.
The side
and
stuff
better
is fun, but yeah,
factions,
main
because the
storyline's straightforward.
factions kind of suck.
But Jacob, so let me give my final thoughts on the TV show
Hmm.
then, to say that I think I feel how you feel about 4 about this show, where I'm like, storyline was whatever. Like, I'm not super impressed by that. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun or whatever. What I like about this show is the vibes. I think
Yeah.
it captures the game. I like seeing the
Absolutely.
practical stuff. The fucking Easter eggs don't work on me because I'm not aware of it, but the osmosis that occurs when, even as a new viewer, where you're like, well, this seems like there's so much tender care. Like, they wouldn't focus on this if it didn't matter, or if they weren't paying homage to something, or if they weren't just including something cool. Like, that's kind of the buzz I get off of this show. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with the vibes really make the show. And that's the same vibes that I feel when I'm playing New Vegas and I'm just going across the Mojave Wasteland listening to my radio. And like, they nailed the tone of it, they nailed the aesthetics. And again, just the amount of references, like the UIs of the Pip Boys, the sound effects that it makes when you switches screens, like every little detail, the needle drops,
The hacking.
everything, the hacking. Yeah, when they pull up the password thing on the computer and it's like the exact password mini game that you have to play when you hack a computer, I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
Well, I guess we're getting to the point where I think we mentioned this before. The people making this stuff are finally the people who played this stuff. Like, they're in a positions of power in the industry where they can actually be like, stop fucking around, give the fans what they want. I'm a fan, and I think that's really.
Well, and
really
what's
the best
interesting
part.
is this show is kind of marketed as like Jonathan Nolan was saying, like, yeah, we're fans of the game, but we also want to tell our own original story. So they were kind of pitching it as like the way The Witcher and Halo did it. But it ends up working out that it is an original story, but it fits in the universe, and they didn't do anything to change the world in a drastic way that would like piss off hardcore fans. So I think that's something that it has going for it.
I mean, when I saw the medical stuff on the wall in the game, I'm like, oh shit. And like the way she gets stabbed and then stim packs herself, and it's like, we don't need to explain why she healed. It's just what they do.
No.
Put it on. That's what they do here, right? No bullshit,
Yeah.
convoluted. That's what stim packs just work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So insane attention to detail in terms of the lore and the world, and just a really good show, I think. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah, good job.
You shouting out A Boy and His Dog and Mad Max as much as we have, Jacob.
yeah.
It's making me realize, and Mike, I think you do know this, but that you don't know what's coming up for you in about a month and a half. That what we've got going with our long-term franchise, you're going to be getting some Fallout fun, is all I'm going to hint at you. So,
Oh, sure.
We're going to see more of this, my man.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah.
We may end up in the far future and desert in more ways than one as well coming up.
And
so
hopefully
stay tuned, dear viewer.
Yeah,
some
truly.
mean monkeys too, hopefully.
Yeah, right.
The only
Speaking
thing
of
that would have
factions,
made the Fallout universe better, yes.
Bro, I need
Human
those
talking
monkeys to be mean.
that should have been Caesar's frickin' army.
Caesar's Legion.
Caesar's Legion could have been the Planet of the Apes, guys.
Yeah.
Is home.
Yeah. Ape shall
That's
never
right.
kill ape. Anyway.
Why Cookie Rocket, Kazar?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, this has been great. I really like the show, and again, I'm a fan of the games now, and I'm going to continue building little houses in a drive-through theater.
That's good.
For many more days.
Yeah, I mean, you were sharing your New Vegas opinions in our chat the other day, and I was getting a little steamed about it, but I accept that
through your phone.
Every gamer is different and likes different things, and I like that you're getting into Fallout 4, and that's acceptable to me. So
I'll maybe get around to it, but I did look at it. I looked at a list of most essential mods for New Vegas, and I spent like an hour and a half installing them all with the game to have the best experience. And then even after that, good graphics, I'm still walking slow. I was like, what have I done? I was shook.
You probably didn't do the mods right.
I didn't have the sprint mod. No, it worked, but I didn't have the sprint one. But I had already uninstalled the game at that point out of rage. So I'll get back to it. I'll get back to it. because I do want to experience that story in Vegas, and the apocalypse seems cool. So I'll roll the dice, as it were, at some point. Yeah.
Well, and with where the show's heading, it's so interesting. How could you not have your eye towards Vegas?
I want to be in the know when the next season comes out, right? I want to get the Easter eggs this time as I'm watching instead of after the fact. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God, if only fucking Rene Aubergenois was still alive. That fucking sucks. Or is Mr. House? He's probably not still alive.
Depends
or
on the
whatever.
ending.
I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it depends on your ending.
Yeah. But still would have been sick to have Rene Aubergenois, leader of New
Would have been
Vegas.
great.
Yeah. R.I.P. Anyways,
Yeah.
Fallout.
Well, Mike's
Good
sipping
show.
from a Nuka-Cola right now. We've got all of our bottle caps. We're putting them away. We didn't have to sell any teeth on this episode, and we're happy about that. We didn't have to take any rad away. We didn't step on any rad roaches. I saw a thing. Mutants, like super mutants, are a type of people.
Oh
Yeah.
Do you want to see those, Jacob?
Sure.
Yeah, super
Can
mutants seem
you?
interesting.
Are they like they're like the Hulk? I mean, they're like big.
Yeah, they're like these big super mutant guys.
Low
Yeah,
intelligence.
That might be hard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They reference them in the show, so I'm sure we'll see them eventually too.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, we're looking
Yeah.
forward to the future in the year 2000. What is it? 225 or something?
or something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's too much.
2277.
And we're hoping no nukes are dropping on us now. If you are down in your vault and you want to write to us to say, hey, I loved Fallout, or here's the weird experiment that's happening in our vault, you can do that at normies_like_us on all social media. Rate, review, subscribe helps us out there too. Hit us up on YouTube.
Tell me why I'm wrong about New Vegas, please.
Yeah, please.
Critique the running speed.
Fellow
We'll-
New
we'll-
Vegas snobs.
Rise up.
Sound off in the
Yeah.
comments. No, I think, every Fallout game is legitimate, however you want to play the game. It's not for everyone, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. So
No, I looked up the speedrun world record for Fallout New Vegas, and it said does not exist. Impossible.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean,
'Cause there's
how
no
could it,
running.
I guess.
No, I mean you can. You
I'm
can
sure
glitch,
there's a
I bet you
speedrun.
could glitch it in like
I
10
mean-
minutes.
yeah.
Sure.
last
It's
job.
good.
All right,
All right.
normies.
We've been your hosts. This is Ghoul Colin.
Mike
they are.
McLean sneaking around.
This is Brother Jacob of the Brotherhood of Steel. Knight Jacob.
Hey, now clean this.
Paladin Jacob. That's a.
Alan and Jacob.
It's interesting
There
they
we
use the
go.
knight term instead of paladin because I feel like a lot of the Brotherhood of Steel characters in the games are called paladin something. So
Cleric
Anyways.
is cleric.
cleric, yeah.
Any percent New Vegas, real time 10 minutes, in game 8 minutes.
There you go. Without even a
That's-
sprint mod.
That's fucking impossible. There's no
it's Glitch
way.
City, but luckily
Yeah,
the game has
it's-
plenty of them for you to exploit right out the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. All
All right,
right.
enough of that. Yep. I'll play it.
All right, normies.
Good luck
Have a
out there
good
in the
one.
wasteland. Bye.
Don't go mad. Don't set the world on fire. We'll catch you next time.